Hello and welcome back to JobsWorth. This week we have another JobsWorth Express episode for you featuring Will Grashoff, who's a recruitment agency owner. I've known Will for a number of years now. We met again via LinkedIn. And Will is someone who is not afraid to poke fun at the industry that we both work in. He's definitely someone that doesn't take himself too seriously either. We do discuss what it's like working in recruitment, but not for the entirety of this JobsWorth Express chat. We talk about the challenges of running a business. We talk about what it was like for him running a company after not long joining through the pandemic, which was obviously an incredibly challenging time for, I think, the world, it's safe to say, but definitely for people that were operating their own company. We also talk about why he's pivoted recently with a bit of a company rebrand due to changing demands. And it's a really interesting conversation. I love Will. I think he's developed a really strong personal brand on LinkedIn predominantly. So if you don't know who Will is, it's worth checking him out on there. So personal brand, and by extension his company brand, have got a really strong following, and it just shows you if you leverage that platform in the right way and show a bit of personality, it can make a huge difference. So for anyone on the fence about diving into LinkedIn and investing a bit more time on it, then this would be a worthwhile episode to listen to, as well as generally being inspiring for anyone that wants to change their relationship with work, which is what we're all about. So please enjoy Will's episode. We're back with a full feature length, if I can call it that, episode next week, and I will see you soon, or you'll see me soon. That's probably the better way to say it. Bye. For anyone that doesn't know you, Will, how do you describe what it is you do?
Oh, good question. So primarily, I'm a recruiter. So all of my bills are paid by doing recruitment and doing permanent placements into rec to rec and the creative world.
Okay.
But to be fair, most people will probably know me for the silly videos and stuff that we've done over the years. So that's probably how people would know me.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's how I first came across you on LinkedIn and saw the videos you were doing, and obviously we're from similar worlds working in recruitment, and I just thought that what you were putting out there was kind of a nice bit of satire on the industry, poking fun at it, which I think more people need to do. So I'll go on to talk about this later on, but I think there's a lot of people taking recruitment very seriously.
Yeah.
And it is serious. We are placing people, and we're potentially changing people's lives, but at the same time there are some agencies out there that are doing it in not the way that I would do it, and maybe not the way you do it, Will, too.
Definitely.
So take me back. What inspired you? What made you take the leap to actually start up on your own in the first place? So it's about seven-ish years you've been operating now.
Yeah. It wasn't actually a conscious thing, you know. I didn't I'm not like an entrepreneur really. It kind of just happened. So I was working with a former MD of mine on a startup business, and he'd secured some investors and some investment, and we were kind of all working together. Like I was his number two, you know, and he's a brilliant man, and actually so much of what I do has been influenced by him and his you know, personality. But it kind of got to about 2 months in of all kind of, you know, him and I working together with, you know, along with these investors, and they just said, look, it's not really working with him, and they you know, they kind of said to him, look, thank you, but you know, we're not going to invest. And then they contacted me a while later and said, look, we really liked what you were doing and, you know, your ideas, and you seem you know, quite sensible and switched on. Do you want to do something of your own? And I was like, yeah, definitely, of course, that sounds good. Because at that time, they provided huge amount of infrastructure around me, like a finance team, a marketing team. Like we were part of a much wider group. So, you know, it was a really, really gentle kind of introduction into running a business, you know, and my stresses were really only when I had to do board meetings and present to them kind of, you know, what we were doing. And, you know, these people weren't from the recruitment world, they're from hospitality world. So, you know, a lot of the reference points I was using, they didn't fully, they understood, but it was different to them. So I didn't go out of my way to start an agency. It just kind of happened. I fell into it.
Yeah, well, God, that is the. I use the word cliche so much on this podcast because so many of them come out, but it is the cliche. Always, most people, 99.9% of people fall into recruitment, and if you don't, I just question you. Basically, what you're describing there with this other person that you worked with, have you still got a good relationship with that person? Because I can imagine that may lead to some tension. It feels to me like it evokes these images of X Factor where a duo goes in and Simon Cowell says, "No, wait a minute, I want you to stay, but someone else not." Yeah. Is that how did that run?
It was a really difficult time actually, because he gave me my first ever job in recruitment. He taught me kind of huge amount, and I really liked and respected him. But absolutely at that time, and for me to be put in that situation, it was horrible. Brutal. Really, because I just had my daughter she'd just been born, my second daughter had just been born, and so like I was like fixated on money and being able to be a good dad and all of this other stuff, and and actually having freedom. So although I do feel like I probably like it wouldn't have sat well with him. For me, I had to do it, and if I would have not done it, I'd have really regretted it, and I wouldn't be where I am now. So it was the right decision. Yeah. But I mean, look, we've spoken a few times since, and I would happily go for a drink with him, and would probably have a right laugh. And he's a great guy, and I'm sure he's doing great things. But it was difficult. It was challenging.
I don't know how old you are, Will, but I'm assuming at that age as well, having been in the industry for a shorter amount of time, to be put in that situation and to reach that junction so early on is really difficult. And like you say, you've got these dependents, you've got these big responsibilities to try and have to manage too. So it's huge.
Yeah. Do you know what as well? Yeah, you're right. I hadn't been in recruitment that long. So when I was then building a team of people, like I didn't really know best practice. I didn't really know the right thing to do. So much of it was just kind of winging it and almost like trying to find an identity and trying to find something which makes us different and but we can be known for. Because although I had a fair bit of life knowledge, I'm nearly 40, right. So it wasn't my first career per se. But actually, in recruitment, I had a really short kind of. Like I hadn't been doing it years.
The learning curve was very steep by the sound of it. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's a big thing to have to address very early on. So I was going to ask if there was a eureka moment for you when you kind of were working for someone. This is what happened when I set up my own recruitment agency. But I was working for someone. I just thought I cannot work for someone else anymore. I'm done. But it doesn't sound like that kind of stark transition happened. As you say, the transition was, I guess. It wasn't as contrasting as I'm working for someone, now I don't want to be working for someone anymore. Because like you say, you had a bit of that, the opportunity was presented to you, a bit of that operational support, which no recruiter really enjoys doing, the back office admin, the finance. I still to this day hate it. And I'm now a 2-person agency. So I guess, did you ever think about going out on your own before the opportunity was presented?
No, not at all. And do you know what? I've been really fortunate in my career to have some really great bosses. I probably only ever had 1 or 2 people like who I've reported into who I've not really got on with and really liked. And, I have to give myself some credit here because I think I am easy to manage. I'm quite low maintenance and, I tend to get on and want to do well. So I'm a good employee. But I never had that kind of eureka moment where I can't work for someone else before I need to do it myself. And I would probably say I've had more eureka moments in the last couple of years where I'm like, I need to work for someone else now. I can't do it anymore myself. And as I suppose as we all do, run our own stuff. But I never had that. I learned so many good things off former bosses and former employees and employers. Sorry, and even a place called Wallace Hind. I worked for 4 months before I was approached by my old director, and for 4 months I spent there. I still talk to Matt Hogg, who's MD of that. like most days. We speak a lot. And I always say to him, like, he probably taught me more about like quality recruitment in that time than I'd learned in my entire previous career.
Yeah.
So, I was really fortunate to have great bosses. So
It sounds
I've
like
taken
it.
the best out of them.
Yeah, I've lucked out in a lot of ways, and I owe a lot of gratitude to the people that kind of got me into recruitment, helped me fall into it, and then really gave me that foundational experience and I guess the motivation to see what you can do in recruitment too. But those relationships evolve over time as well. But it sounds like you say, you've had a really good run with good, inspiring people.
Yeah.
You kind of touched upon it a second ago, but have you ever questioned whether you've made the right decision? And I mean, not as broad as life, but specifically about going.
Get really deep.
Yeah, I know. Let's dive right in. But specifically about starting the agency and taking that mantle and running with it. Have there been those moments where you thought, "Fuck, I shouldn't have done this. This is bad."
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the most obvious one for me would have been around COVID. So back in kind of March 2020, and at that point, I think I had 11 people who was working for me. So I was directly responsible for, their welfare really.
Wow.
And all the uncertainty around it. It wasn't just, we're going into lockdown. At that point, furlough hadn't been announced, but there was also this deadly virus where I was thinking, oh my God, if my mum and dad get this, they'll die alone in hospital. And, compounding that with, uncertainty of, oh my God, I need to pay people at the end of March and there's no money to do it. The investors at that time said, look, we're in the hospitality trade. All of our properties are shutting.
Wow.
We can't do anything with you now. This is how much money you owe us. Thank you. See you later. Which was actually the right thing to do for everybody. And I'm really grateful. And we still got a great relationship. But absolutely, at that particular time, I was like, I remember sitting on my bed next to my wife and literally crying, saying, like, I don't know what to do. When you're working for someone else, like, your worry is like, it's not necessarily your worry. It's almost like their problem to sort out for you. Whereas I was thinking, where am I going to get the money to pay these people from? We've got all this money on the sales ledger. None of those companies are going to pay now. So that was a real time where I was like, but actually, with everything, you cry and you get emotional, and then you're like, right, okay, I need to sort this out and have a plan. And actually, really fortunately, everybody who owed us money at that time paid, which I thought was just incredible. And then furlough was announced, which was incredibly helpful. And then it kind of, after that, it allowed us to realign and allowed me to realign what was important. And the regret kind of went, but it was only a short period of time, but there was regret there.
I mean, that's a huge, it is a short period of time. And looking back now, 5 years past then, it's crazy to think how much time has passed, because at that moment in time, it felt like it was never ending for those 3 or 4 months after March 2020. I remember sitting down, because I was 6 minutes into my business, 6 months into starting my agency. I remember sitting on the sofa when Boris Johnson was on the telly announcing this lockdown, and I was crying. And I remember looking at my other half as well at the time, sat on this sofa and thinking, this is like rock. It felt my definition then of rock bottom. I was like, this is awful. But again, that was me and my family. I didn't have teams of people to be managing and looking after, and investors. And huge, there were invoices outstanding, but not, a couple of years of invoices outstanding. This is a very different scenario to be in, but it was huge. But like you say, you learn from it. It forges something in you, hopefully, and then you go on to get stronger from there. You've had a bit of a rebrand recently, Will. What was the driver behind that?
So OX7 was a bit. I mean, for a start, but it was named after the postcode where we were formed.
Oh, nice.
So
okay.
So like that's like 45 miles away from us now. So it needed a refresh. It needed a bit of a redefinition, because I think there was a fair bit of like we started off as a generalist agency. So we covered like lots of different markets, and then I felt like we needed to specialize. We needed to have something we were known for in the recruitment industry. And so we kind of eventually landed on Rec to Rec. But we were also doing creative stuff. So it was just always, I felt like there was lots of confusion, lots of conflicting messages. And actually, I felt it was really difficult to brand like OX7 Creative Partners, OX7 Rec to Rec. So I wanted to bring it all under one.
Right.
And it was lots of effort and lots of frustration having to, have lots of social feeds and like having slightly different messages on each one, because the Rec to Rec side is a bit more controversial, whereas the creative side is a bit more cooler. And I was like, do you know what? This is too much mental effort. Let's bring it all together, have it under Will's talent, and just have like a single message. And really, we deal with talent, so the people who we represent are skilled recruiters and they're skilled creatives. So it's the kind of the most, I think, efficient way for me of doing it and tying it all together. And we tried to keep some influence from the previous OX7 in terms of how we look, but I just felt it was time. I felt 7 or 8 years had passed and nothing had changed in that time in terms of how we looked, so it needed a bit of a refresh and a re-energization, really, because I think for me personally, the last 6 months have been really, really difficult, and I needed to almost put OX7 to bed and then just start again with a renewed vigor for Will's talent.
It's that, again, awful cliche, but it's that starting a bit of a new chapter, isn't it? Or you bookmark, you full stop on one part of your story, and then you start again, and as you say, you re-energise and kick off. And how's the rebrand been received, both by your own people and by the broader market? Has it had much of an impact, or...?
Not really. No. Confusion is, I would say, is the most common one. I think when I announced it to the team that we're going to go for Will's talent, they were a bit like, "So are you going on your own then? Is this your way of telling us, your cowardly way of telling us we're all sacked?" But I explained the rationale behind it, and it's actually a lot more than just the fact it's being my name. We wanted to. So I find at the moment so much is impersonal, so much is AI generated messages, templated messages, and there's just no personality, or there's no almost like culpability behind what people are doing. So I wanted to use my name in it, and a name which obviously has, and the word Will has other connotations as well. It's a verb and whatnot. So I wanted to use something which was like almost saying to all of these kind of AI impersonal kind of approaches, piss off. We want to be the face, we want to be a personality, we want to have an opinion. We don't just want to be like a nameless, faceless corporation who hide behind AI. So it was done kind of with that view. Now, the website's going to be up and done literally any time. So I've kind of done a bit of a soft launch, and once the website's done and finished, there's going to be a bit more of an aggressive kind of marketing of pretty much what I've just said, in terms of why we've changed and what we're doing. So I tried to do it in a bit of like a staged way, but of course, OX7 was like a relatively well-known brand, especially in the town we live in. We sponsor the football club, and we've got our name on 2 stands there on the back of the shares. So that's going to have to all change as well. But I think over time it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean it sounds it, and I've toyed. I mean, my agency is called Global Tech Collective, so it's GTC. But saying Global Tech Collective is a mouthful straight away. So immediately when I started to announce myself on the phone, I was like, I've ballsed up big time here. And there are times where I definitely think about a rebrand. I think there are times, as you say, you get stuck in a rut and you feel like I need something else to get energized back into this too. We are proud to be supported by friends of the show and previous guests, the local merchants. They stock some of the finest ready-to-wear brands in the world and now offer a made-to-measure service that, speaking from personal experience, will leave you feeling like a proper celebrity. Sam and Ed are known for phenomenal customer service and are now crafting tailored pieces so good you'll start inventing reasons to wear them. Book your appointment online or in store and their beautifully designed space becomes your private dressing room, somewhere you can collaborate with the best in the business to create something for any occasion. Their knowledge of tailoring, materials and how a suit should actually look and feel is second to none. First piece or something special, you'll be in expert hands. The customization options next level. Cut, lining, lapels, buttons, buttonholes, vents. What even are vents? The whole experience first class. And for a limited time, JobsWorth listeners get 10% off purchases over £200 in-store or online with the code JW10, including made to measure. So if your wardrobe's due an upgrade, now's the time. Visit thelocalmerchants.co.uk for more information. T's and C's apply. But I went onto your LinkedIn profile, obviously, in preparation for this, and I did see your explanation of why Will and the other words, the other meanings and definitions behind it. And it really resonated with me. I think it's great. And you will find, I'm sure, Will, having seen your content for years now, your own special way of continuing to get that message out there and it landing. Yeah. So that's all cool.
Thank you.
You do have a really strong personal brand, and that leans into what you said about AI kind of taking over and taking the human element away of so many recruitment agencies, our outreach, our messaging, our personal brands, all of this. How do you stop, though, from feeling like you're on a bit of a treadmill with the content you're creating? Do you feel pressure to carry on now because you built this brand, you've got engagement? Do you feel that pressure to keep going? And what's the next idea going to be?
Massively. That is that's one of the hardest things, and you know, we're slightly victims of our own success because it's obviously it's not just me. The whole team contribute huge amounts, and like we can go sometimes 2 or 3 weeks without having the time to spend together to film videos and whatnot. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my god, you know, it's been a day and I've not posted a video. You know, it's gonna the algorithm's gonna affect me. All of this other rubbish, which really you shouldn't care about, but. I think, there's definite pressure, but I am in a place where I don't necessarily make the content to get loads of views and or likes or whatever. And actually, we always judge the videos and the success of them and whatnot on the sentiment of the comments. Right. So I feel at the moment on LinkedIn, there's a formulaic way of posting. Mm-hmm. And it's obviously AI influenced, and it could be, I mean, people will use their kids or a dog or whatever as props to kind of, because they know it gets engagement. Yeah. They know it works. I get it and I understand it. And for some people's business, it's absolutely the right thing to do. I don't like it. For me, it's slightly like fast food. It serves a very short purpose, but actually, the videos and content we create, I do it for like a very, very small audience who I know will like it and find it really funny, as opposed to being really broad and having like 90% of people going, it's all right. Yeah. And then just moving on. Like I'd much prefer someone to actually, we always say the worst response to, any form of content is apathy, just don't care, scroll past like that. That's what we want to avoid. So, I think but that does come with pressure. And if we obsessed over how many reactions one of our posts got, and we compare it to someone else's, you could get very obsessive and very depressed very quickly. Yeah. And so I just take my mindset out of that. Like it's all about the comments and the sentiment of what people are saying, as opposed to how many likes or how many views it's had. And yes, if you can get a post which does, 10, massive numbers, and you have a massive amount of sentiment, well, that's fantastic. But it's not the be all and end all.
No, I get that completely. And I think we're all, to a degree, slaves to the algorithm in that we need to keep putting content out there to keep in people's minds And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I think with a good personal brand, it can make you feel like, or make people feel like they know you really well. So when you do pick up the phone or you send them an email, they're like, oh, okay, it's not a cold intro. You know, the landing is much softer than if you never put anything online. But there's that driver. And I also think there is I know from the content I put out there, I don't know. I enjoy the content. I enjoy the creative side of it. I get the impression you do as well, Will. Like I get to a point where I would much rather sometimes be trying to think of videos or posts, or I even like writing job descriptions of the adverts, that I write. I enjoy that because it's my opportunity to inject some creativity into my day. So I do find myself sometimes having to remember, this doesn't pay the bills. It does to a degree. Yeah. But actually doing the resourcing bit is what I should probably be focused on. But that balance is hard for sure.
Yeah. Well, we always say that the filming of the videos, we have so much fun doing it. It is a release from, what can sometimes be monotony or like just recruitment is a really hard job. Like, it's fundamentally, you would say it's an easy job because you're searching for people based on a brief from a client or whatever, but actually it can be a really soul destroying job, and you need to have a release. You need to have like a way of almost kind of laughing at the irony of what we do, because let's be honest, some of the fees that can be charged are absolutely mental for what we do. It is obscene. I saw a fee online the other day where I think it was like 850k, and the consultant got 185k. Which, look, that is, you could buy a house. You could buy like a row of houses in some places for that. Yeah. And fundamentally, they can dress it up as much as they want, but all that person has done is made an introduction from one person to another who probably wouldn't have crossed paths if they hadn't have been there. So I just feel like we need to kind of be self-aware of like, look, we're really fortunate to be in an industry where we can charge thousands of pounds for an introduction. Let's not take it too seriously, like I said at the beginning. Let's not dress it up as something it's not. We're not lawyers. We're not
doctors,
solicitors, or doctors. Yeah, we're not doing that kind of. We're making introductions, and it's crazy, really.
Yeah. No, it's taken me years. I've been doing this for 13 years now, and it's taken me a long time to get comfortable with that fact that we're getting paid a good money to do what on the surface is a very simple job. And in some situations where, let's say, the placement falls into your lap, then it's really, the markup is really good. But you're dealing with a lot of shit. But again, I think you have to just pull yourself out of it, zoom out sometimes, and think, come on, it's not what you're doing isn't that difficult. You're okay. Don't take things personally. Don't take things to heart. Control the controllables. All these things. But I love the fact you're taking the piss out of it, and you are like the satire that you're putting into your posts, and that's why you lend yourself so well to the rec to rec industry too, because it resonates with recruiters, and they're the people that you need to engage with. So it really serves a purpose, which is brilliant. Yeah. You've answered the question already. Do you think the industry takes itself too seriously? Obviously. Obviously, it's a strong yes. Yeah. And I think even more so now you've got the introduction of these automation tools, because it's so vanilla. It's so vanilla out there, isn't it? And there is a formula for how people get engagement, and it does seem to be spreading like a bit of a virus now. It's very hard to find individuals that are willing to stand out.
Well, do you know what? And I think the problem with all of these like formulaic posts is it does cater for the masses, and it caters for, I don't know. I don't want to say stupid people, because that's not very nice, but like it's very, very low maintenance thinking. Like it's just spoon feeding rubbish, obvious stuff, and it like I have to stop myself from commenting so often on posts. I'm just like, come on, you're being so transparent what you're doing here. Like, just be a bit more intelligent with it. But it works for them, and there's people who are running successful businesses using that as a strategy. So who am I to criticize, or who am I to sneer at what they do? It's just it's a different type of like it's a different type of approach to it, and everyone's entitled to have a different approach. Just because I don't like it and I think it's silly, it doesn't mean it
But no,
is.
it doesn't it? I spend a lot of too much time sitting on my LinkedIn feed feeling like there's some injustice that I need to tackle, but it's just my own thing. So a lot of the time you teach yourself, just stop getting involved in it. Just get off LinkedIn all of a sudden. I think it's so ingrained in our day to day, isn't it, that it's a very hard thing to do, not spend time on your newsfeed. I'm going to ask for some advice now, Will, not for me personally, but for anyone listening. You'll be in a good position to do this, because really what we do every day is try and tap into something that somebody's feeling at work and then leverage that to see if they will explore new opportunities, isn't it, ultimately? What if someone's listening to this right now and they're feeling stuck in the job they're doing, what is one small action that they can take to move in the right direction? So if they're feeling stuck, maybe lost, maybe are they in the right company and they in the right role? What's one small thing that they might be able to do to start some momentum going?
Good question. That's a really good question. So I always feel as though you can, I don't know what the right saying is, but like you can't see the river for the reeds or whatever.
Wood for the trees, I think it is.
Wood for the trees, yeah, whatever that is. Yeah. So that one. So I think sometimes when you're so ingrained in a job and actually, so a lot of time invested in a company or whatnot, but you're feeling like you're, I don't know, maybe undervalued, or your work isn't being recognised, or actually you don't enjoy it. You need to remove yourself from that situation, and you can only really do that when you actually switch off and you physically have a time where you take some annual leave, take a couple days off, and you just allow your mind to kind of reach a bit of an equilibrium where you're like, okay, cool, I actually really enjoy this. I actually really want to do this. I want to, I enjoy, for example, talking and meeting clients and schmoozing clients. That's the part of the job I enjoy, which I'm not doing enough of at the moment. I think you need to remove yourself from a situation and not make decisions when you're in emotional states. You need to find your kind of level and be like, okay, cool. What do I enjoy? What do I not enjoy? And then I think you need to start having conversations. And as recruiters, our job really is to have conversations with people. And I feel as though you can garner so much great information from peers, from colleagues, from people from other businesses, friends from different industries, just on, do you find that in your job? You could talk to a bricklayer and say, do you sometimes feel as though you're not recognised as working hard when you actually are? And just to hear different perspectives and different, different input, to then build up a bit of a picture in your head on what actually will make you happy and what will, because you don't get this time back, and you only get to live once. And being in a job which doesn't make you happy and makes you miserable is one of the worst things you can do, because you spend most of your time working.
Yeah. It's a really good point.
I just feel as though, you need to take it seriously and, respect the fact that you can't rewind. You can't go back to 16 and go, I'm going to train to be a doctor now. Because you get to 40 very quickly and you're like, shit, like, where's all that time gone? I'm halfway through my career. So I just think it's allowing yourself to make a considered decision by removing yourself from the kind of, what's the word, being in the thick of it.
In the weeds. I think that's so right. You've got to be intentional about it. You've got to be conscious and give it some real thought. And you can only do that, as you say, if you're fortunate enough to be able to take the position where you step away from all of the noise to really give it that thought, then you'll be in a much better position. But I've done a lot of JobsWorth episodes now, and everyone's advice seems to be life is too short. Like if you really are not enjoying something, or if it's having an impact on your mental health or anything, you have to make the change. It's not really a question. You have to do it. The decision becomes very simple. And I kind of caveat that with, it's great in practice, isn't it? Or it's great in theory to make that change. But some people feel so bogged down. But the advice is that simple. You have to do something. Life is too short to be sat there miserable. have to do it.
Yeah. You have to act. And I think that's the key thing, acting. And a lot of the time, you need, and that's why talking to other people is important, because they will give you that kind of impetus to make a change and probably reassure you that maybe they've done it before and they felt exactly like you did, but they made a change and now they're happier. And I know we speak to people, obviously in our job, every single day who might not be going to see their kids enough. The kids are growing up and they're stuck in an office job, or they're commuting every single day and there's no flexibility and they're missing out on bedtimes and morning times with their kids. You can never get that time back, and if you're not getting to do stuff that's important to you, and it could be the fact you can't go to the gym or you can't go and watch your local football team. If you can't do stuff that's important to you, you can't go back and do that time again. So acting on it and kind of being proactive and making a change is so important.
Do you feel as you've got older, Will, and I'm speaking from my own experience here too, you're able to empathise with people that are going through different stages of their lives? I started in recruitment, I was 25, I didn't have kids, I was still living at home. Yeah. And when people were saying no to job offers that I was presenting to them, I could understand elements, but this big broad picture of, no, I've spoken to my wife and it's not right for the family, or no, I would need to. I couldn't understand it. I mean, I said I would. I said I did. I'd nod. I'd be like, okay, I completely understand. But now I've got so much more empathy for these life events that people are going through, and I think it does make you a better recruiter as you have more experience yourself. In my opinion. Better recruiter, how do you judge success in recruitment? If it's just by billing, maybe I was billing more back then because I was a bit more shut off to it. But I think it makes you a more well-rounded recruiter, let's say, if you've got that experience.
I completely, utterly agree. And, I think with old age comes wisdom. And actually, because I was exactly the same as you. So when I first started, I'd be like, just driving over 10 miles every day. What's the problem? Like, why aren't you taking this job just for the sake of 10 miles?
So easy.
But actually, that 10 miles equated to like 45 minutes for that person. That 45 minutes meant 45 minutes less time with their family. So it's, as I've got older, we've always been low pressure. So we've always very much been like, look, here's the role. If it's right for you, fantastic. If it's not, don't worry at all. Because I actually think if you try to be a bit more pressurised and give ultimatums, it turns people off. I just, no, fuck that, man. I'm not going to do that. So we've always tried to be low pressure, and actually to really understand someone's true motivations. And you can only get that by having proper, honest, good conversations with people. So which again kind of goes back to the kind of the personal element. Touch and the human element, rather than just having a load of AI generated questions which are prompted to ask because you need to get an outcome that means you can submit them. Actually, I think having a human element and the kind of emotional side to it makes a huge difference, and it gives you a much broader picture of the person and creates a better relationship and makes them less likely to ghost you, etc., etc.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah. No, it's. I thought we'd align on that, Will. Anyway, but it's nice to hear we do. Right, we've got a game to end. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to do a pared back version of this, but it's a game of complete the sentence. Now, I will caveat this. I've tried to do this with another guest, and bless him, I should have been clearer. It's a sentence. So we're trying to complete a sentence. So try and keep it as concise as possible. It's not... Yeah. That's part of the challenge. Obviously, it's a game. Otherwise, it would just be easy. So I'll probably do 3 or 4 of these. So to put you on the spot, Will, success isn't about money. It's about...
freedom.
Oh, I love that answer. Okay, cool.
Freedom,
if I wasn't doing this, I'd be...
Oh, such a hard question. I'd be... Oh... I don't. Do you know what?
Tough.
I honestly don't know. It's so tough. If I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be single because I wouldn't have had enough money to attract my wife. So that's what I'd be first of all. Yeah. Secondly, I'd probably be doing something outdoors. I think.
Okay.
So and do you know what? I think I'd love being like a labourer or working in construction on a site with a group of lads, just mucking around.
What a brilliantly honest answer as well. I used to be a scaffolder, Will, and there are so many days where I miss that camaraderie and just being out lumping stuff around. So I had Brackley Town, something to do with Brackley Town, the football club, down as well. But you're obviously involved in that anyways, and your job allows you to be more involved than you may have done if you weren't doing it. Right, we've got one more. It's a big one. The secret to happiness at work is.
I'm going to say it again: freedom and flexibility. And what I suppose what I mean by that, I'll try and keep it concise. Is I've not missed a single sports day or show or anything like that for my kids because I've had freedom and flexibility to attend those, and I know how much it means to them that I can do it. And that's just a micro example of what everything in my life that makes me happy is facilitated by the fact I can be flexible and have a lot of freedom in my job. So
that's brilliant. I kind of group that under the word autonomy. It's just freedom, flexibility, autonomy to choose the things that are important to you and prioritize those in life. Will, thank you so much. The last question I'm going to ask is, where can people find out more about you? Where can people find out more about Will's talent? You said that the website is still in development to a degree, but in the meantime, where can we find out more about what it is you do?
Yeah, so just LinkedIn profile is probably the best place to go. Watch some of the videos, and if that doesn't disgust you and turn you off, then definitely contact me. If it does disgust you and turn you off, don't let me know because that will break my heart. But
some things are best left unsaid. Will, it's been an absolute joy. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.